people of the town have long wondered about Simon Rodilla. Simon Rodilla, tile setter by trade, Italian-born, American for half a century, builder of defiant towers.
I built the tower myself, and I got it that in my mind. I know I want to do something. I say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something.
For 30 years, a man lives alone in a house with a bed, a chair, a table, with the music and the faded symbols of a time when he was young. There was something else in the house, a dream of vast structures. For 30 years, every day, every moment outside his work for a living, in the light and in the darkness, Simon Rodilla labored to express the dream. Seashells, broken bottles, pebbles, shattered tiles, with the discarded, the unwanted, the useless, with the debris of a machine-ridden civilization he avoided. He gave color and texture and vitality to the towers as they arose out of his inner necessity. With steel girders, with wire mesh, with concrete, with a bucket, a shovel, a hammer, a chisel, and with his two hands, Simon Rodilla built, inch by inch, the huge and complex structures that look down from their heights upon the plain.
It's just a work of art of an individual, don't you think? The gentleman that made it here, I remember about almost 10 years ago, he was still working on it. So it's a piece of artistry of here, and I guess he gathered the material here and there.
To make a pretty scenery, I think. People would come and he could make that place famous. Around here, anyhow.
Well, my estimation about it, don't many people seem to know anything about it. Because I lived here since 1940, and I didn't know anything about it. In 2 blocks of it, I was on May Avenue, and didn't even know nothing about it. I'd almost passed and seen it.
It was believed that Tokyo Rose was born here. They said, well, she was born in Watts, and most likely she was born here.
Simon Rodilla listened patiently to everything that was said. Then he continued his work, unchanged, undisturbed.
some of my people that say, what is he doing? Or some other people that they thinking I was crazy, and some people that they say he's going to do something.
As he was planning his towers, his mind often turned to the past. He had a deep respect for men like Galileo, Michelangelo, Marco Polo, Columbus, martyrs, builders, explorers, men of stature. He hoped that in some way his work was related to their tradition. Yet he sought nothing for himself. He was content to think of great men and to build in the direction of the sun. He was undistracted by the great devices and disasters of his era. Radio, television, radar, electronics, the blinding atom flashed across the modern scene. He went on bending steel into girders. All that he wanted to do could be done with the simplest of tools and with his hands. It began in the man, a stranger in a new country. He was untrained, unskilled, but he had an urgent need for expression. The elements worked together, driven by a sense of dedication. And slowly the formless became ordered. The wire mesh and the concrete welded the separate parts. The circles of steel embraced the supporting girders. The scattered objects emerged as design.
I did all by myself. I never had a single helper. One thing, I couldn't hire any helper. I don't have no money. Not a thing. If I hire a man, he don't know what to do. A million a time, I don't know what to do myself. I was wake up all night. Because this was all of my own idea.
The tall bell towers of Italy, recalled from childhood, may be here, and the minarets and all distant places of worship, and the gilded domes dozing in hot jungles, and high, cold, aspiring Gothic cathedrals, and all man's slow, tormented, enduring steps toward some light undefined. The builder signed his work with the imprint of his tools and with his initials. His eyes were now lit with the quiet pride of the craftsman. I had it in my mind to do something big, and I did. said Simon Rodilla.
This is a field of art, a desert museum dedicated to the works of Noah Purifoy.
The desert is, for most of us, a bleak and arid wasteland. But for the artist Noah Purifoy, it was a place of creativity and daily inspiration.
Acres of debris waving about in a glaze of sweeping hot desert sun. But this is Joshua Tree, the most surreal area you'll find off California's Highway 62, especially in July, and the junkyard is just a mirage.
Many of these pieces come from my childhood. A description of what I remember childhood was like.
He's an artist whose work hangs in galleries far and wide, yet his mode of expression, assemblage, strains for acceptance as a legitimate discipline in the art world. Assemblage is the art of taking found objects, junk, and putting them together in such a way that makes them radiate with a singular display of emotion. Dozens of examples of Purifoy's energetic imagination are on display here on this desert floor.
At the present time, assemblage comes in the category as an art form, as mixed media. I think it's more than that. It was a phase of the revolution, and we all participated in the capacity in which we were best known. But some African Americans are still doing protest art because it sells well. But those who buy it are only trying to subdue their own guilt. And I don't think an artist should spend a lifetime doing protest art, even though it's popular. I think that protest art comes from the same place genuine art comes from. If there's another layer which you have to get rid of to get the best part of yourself. Protest art is not the best part of yourself. It's underneath. So I would only advocate protest art to get rid of my prejudice. Being discontented with my work and the meaning of art, I looked around for something else to do. But now I do it for fun. I have no need to protest anything. I have no need to protest anything. I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't say I want to be recognized as an assemblage artist. I can't care much about the object. My concern is the people who see the object. I do want them to understand, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. And it occurred to me that if only they are inspired by what they see, I say, after you have seen the works, go home and do today what you could not do yesterday. And that's all inspiration is. And that's all inspiration is.
I think I was anthropologist first, and then I was a zoologist, secondly. But I was in love with the idea of animals, all phases. And I knew then, even when I was a kid, that we weren't human yet, right? I learned that very early. I learned that humanity itself was was growing up and becoming. And this is the way I still feel about life. I think that art is and always will be, with audacity, to be anything that it chooses to be at a given time. That's what I feel about art. I think that it is so important. The creative momentum is so important that rather than use the term art, I think in terms of audacity more than anything else. The audacity to be anything that the individual chooses it to be. Opinions are very stout, you know. The way that we think about anything is very stout. And so rather than my coming to lecture you, if we can just have a conversation, that's cool. That's very hip with me. I can talk about a lot of things. I can talk about the way I grew up, which is the earliest influence that was very important, those influences to me. I can talk about the tensions that are still here, that we're allowed to be here in America, as related to racism, as we say, the things that we don't put on the table, that we don't discuss, but we keep doing what we do. And I'm interested in what makes us pulse. I mean, what makes us pulsate, rather. What makes us tick? And I feel that I'm just an animal. They call me human, even though I'm not yet. They call a cow a cow. I had 150 birds a short time ago, and my birds never forgot the fact that I'm a bird. That's all I am. I came to fly, I came to sing, I came to be. At the same time, I raised 13 pit bulls, all at once. Pedigree pit bulls. They would move over and let the geese eat out of their bowls. I never lost a bird. I wanted my daughter and her friends to know that a pit bull, another person, has a tail that it wags all the time. And it says to you with no uncertainty, I'm a pit bull, I'm a dog. Do you want me to bite you or what? What do you have me to do? Right? So cool it, man. Just be cool. Don't bite the geese or the goose right over here. Don't bite him. And the people say, okay. Oh yeah, I'm strong. I got muscle, man. Let me use them. No, don't use them now. This is not the time. The dog told me early on that I'm just a pit bull, that's all. A snake can laugh at you. I found that out when I was very young. Another thing that I found out as a young person growing up in the tension that I keep talking about in heart and mind, makeup, was how important it is to keep trying to be what we think we should be. How difficult that is at times, and how important it is at all times to be what you think you need to be at a given time.
The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The moon passes through its phases, waxing and waning, the nights, the months, the years. The new moon begins the cradle of dreams. The cradle of dreams which is filled with the hopes, the promises, the visions of the future, the possibilities that we wish for our children. Our destiny is shaped by the challenge of fate. Our past, our ancestors, our histories of who we were, who we are, who we will be. The globe is supported by the bones of those who came as slaves on the slave ship. The bones that rest at the bottom of the sea. The books record the history of what that was, what it should be, and the truth that we know that is not written about it. The cage holds a slave ship. Atop the cage is a Jim Crow symbol for racism. The mystic window of sky and sea begins at the sea with the waves, the ocean, the fish, to remind us that we are surrounded and connected to nature. The mystic window of sky and sea, with all its beauty and mystery. The human element is represented by the palms of fate and by the figure. Above is the sky with its cosmic reflections of the moon and the sun and the stars, all of the beauty and mystery of nature. And the eye, the all-seeing eye, our lives are filled with objects, obsessions, obligations, the confines of material things, of ideas, of emotions, of culture and society, all the stuff we accumulate. The obligation of memory, all the objects that we collect that are associated with a memory of a person, of an event, of a thing. The mammy in the cage. She can see out, we can see in, but she's still in cage. The sailing ship. The ships that brought the slaves from Africa, the chains that bound them. The diagram of the slave ship. The washboard as a symbol of labor. The slave's road to the New World. The obligation of memory. The game of time. The game of time is played hour by hour, week by week, year by year. The sands of time are always shifting and drifting as the years become decades. The moments of enlightenment melt and fade away. And time sends us on the journey to elsewhere. Journey to elsewhere, to the dark side of the moon.